I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver in late September, and I'm joined by Darren Klinck of Bluestone Resources. Bluestone is a company that I've been following for a little while now. Not that long, because the company is still fairly young. What I wanted to the way I wanted to angle in on this is I wrote an article recently about something that's unique at this time in the cycle, in the mining cycle, which is that certain assets can get unlocked. So major mining companies love to identify strong projects and then sort of put their focus elsewhere, and the project gets lost a little bit in their portfolio, gathers dust, but is unavailable for anybody else to advance. That's a little bit what went on with Cerro Blanco, which is your project, and it takes a particular time in the cycle, and it takes a particularly strong management team to be able to extract that asset and then do something with it.
Yeah, no, I think it's bang on really with regards to Cerro Blanco. You're right. I mean, I think in the case of this asset, and having had a chance to speak with a number of individuals over the last year that have been involved with this project over the last 10 to 15 years, it was a project that had really a lot of momentum, a lot of support within Glamis, and then post that Goldcorp. But as you kind of fast forward and you get into over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, management changes at Goldcorp, the asset that was been operating in Guatemala, the Marlin mine for many years, was going into closure. It's timing, right? And so you have this asset that, fast forward after 10 or 15 years, has had more than $200 million invested in it. But the decision of the new management team is that, well, look, I mean, there's an opportunity cost, for us to be focusing on this versus something else. And for a project, Goldcorp size, this one really just didn't fit. So John Robbins, our chairman, decades in the industry, has really had a long success of looking for these sorts of opportunities. And again, I commented earlier today that in the presentation here at the Metals Forum that if you're in the dust and following the herd, you're too late. And so I think that this is a great example of finding an opportunity where, again, a little bit off cycle, identifying that it's a high quality opportunity that is going to be very profitable, but it requires the focus. It requires the focus of the management team, and so that's what Bluestone could obviously bring to the table. And I think at the end of the day, as we move forward here over the next couple of years, that's where the opportunity is for investors.
Absolutely. You say focus of the management team. That's absolutely true. You're taking an asset that has a PEA that was part of the process. You generated a PEA from internal work that Goldcorp had done. That PEA is a strong document, but PEAs are initial looks at how these things can be. Now you're going from PEA to feasibility study, which is like the document on which you basically build a mine in the space of 12 months. And that means you have a huge number of things that you're juggling right now, because there's so many inputs that go into that document. You mentioned in your presentation, for instance, that there hadn't been a geologist on site for 5 years prior to you guys showing up. So that's just one indication of just how much work there is for you guys to get done in this short period of time.
There is. I mean, and again, it's. I haven't seen my kids that much over the last year, to be honest. I mean, but this is part of our industry, I think, and the opportunity that presents itself. We're fortunate that I think with the asset, and obviously there's been a lot of drilling and studies, et cetera, that have been done before by Goldcorp and Glamis, that we had a pretty good head start. But at the end of the day, when you're going to effectively develop a mine, you need to have a pretty honed in sort of picture as to what that looks like, and you need to be able to address the risks. That's a big part of our mandate as management, is to manage the risks. And so taking what had been done before, really for us, the key focus was the geologic model. We spent a lot of time on the structural work, bringing some experts in out of the UK late last year and early this year, and then identifying, really from that structural control perspective, where we wanted to be doing our infill drilling. And we're very pleased with the outcome after 11 to 12,000 meters of infill drilling. It's given us a very strong sort of picture and really confirmation of the continuity of the ore body. And ultimately then that's resulted in a very good outcome with the resource, actually seeing the overall resource, the high grade, jump by 20%. And the bulk tonnage by 40%. But the other thing I'd probably add to that, and this is really just drawing on my experience previously coming from companies that have been building and operating mines for many years, is that, at Bluestone, we're a junior company. 15 months ago, we really didn't exist. We had, as I told you before, one unpaid employee and $35 in the bank. And so it was important for me, I think, to look for how we could cut and de-risk as we move through this process. And we established a technical advisory committee, which is made up of industry stalwarts that are, some of the more well-recognized experts in their fields. And over the last 12 months, they've been working very closely with management as well as JDS, who's leading the feasibility study, to peer review that feasibility study. This is a study, as we've talked about, that really we want to be able to roll into detailed design and engineering and get financed. It will increase, and it already is, the confidence, I think, from potential financiers for the project. Because it's a tough business and it's full of risks, as we know. But by ensuring that we're not stepping into the same, as I call them, bear traps as have been stepped in before, we enhance our chances to make sure that this is a project that is highly profitable and will generate a lot of value for not only local stakeholders, but of course our shareholders here at home as well.
Yeah, no, that technical advisory committee, unique. Like, I haven't actually seen that structure before from a company. And I thought it was a really, really phenomenal idea, and I love to hear that they are working quite closely with, because the guys that you have on there are like you say, stalwarts who are, I'm sure, pulled in many directions. So now, you're getting close to the end of the feasibility. I don't want to stress you by even saying that out loud, but you say the end of the year,
right.
And that's not too far from now.
Yeah.
Then you're going to roll straight into sort of making a decision to build this thing and find financing for it. So that's another interesting leg, and I'm sure you're being approached by lots, because as much as sentiment in the metals sector is tenuous on the market side, from what I'm feeling and hearing, there are a lot of groups out there that are interested in financing good projects, and this one, with all the capital that's already been invested, all the 3 kilometers of underground workings, totally permitted, very de-risked, I imagine there's a lot of groups that are pretty interested in helping you finance this thing to construction.
I've been pleased with what we've seen here over the last 6 to 8 months. We've had probably more than a couple of dozen folks come down to visit. And again, for the comments we made earlier, this is a project that wasn't really well known about.
Sure. Largely
because it was quite a small project tied into one of the larger miners in the space today. And the feedback really that's come away has been very positive. We now have 6 banks and brokerages that cover us from a research perspective. I think we'll see one more here over the next few weeks, and it's very much indicative of, I think, the quality of the project. And when you look at, again, the grade, the footprint, the fact that it's permitted, this all sort of matches up very well. And so the discussions that we've had so far with, interested parties from a financing perspective, particularly on the debt, the project stacks up well. There's not many projects that are coming down the pipeline here over the next 24 to 30 months that have strong margins, quick paybacks, and as you said, we're at a time in the space where, whether it be from some of the more traditional project finance banks or the private equity groups or even corporates, there is capital to deploy for the right projects and the right teams. And I think that we've got a very good chance of getting that financing in place here by the middle of next year, and to continue really with the timeline that we set 15 months ago.
Right. Yeah. There's capital available for the right projects. The standards are really high, but I at least think that you guys fit that bill, and there aren't very many projects out there that do. So, congrats and good luck with the rest of the feasibility. I look forward to seeing the results soon, and we'll keep in touch and stay in touch with the Bluestone story.
Very good. Thank you very much, Gwen.
Thanks.